Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Dev Diary of Nanuka, Secret of the Shattering Moon. In this episode we are going to introduce you to our new 2D cinematic puzzle platformer, entirely hand-drawn and hand-animated in pixel art. I'm Ali Motisi, lead developer and director at OutOfTheBit. I've been in the game industry for many years, and in 2008 I founded my own indie studio, OutOfTheBit. You might know us from Planet Quest, Superarcade Football and Superarcade Racing, and for our latest release, Full Void. We launched Full Void in July 2023 on all major platforms. We also published a physical release on the Evercade, and we're honored to have won the Debug Subscribers' Choice Award in February 2024. I'm now teaming up again with Leo and Tom, who did the art for Full Void, to work on the new game. To promote it, we recently released a teaser trailer, and we're now excited to share our development process with you with monthly devlogs from now until the release of the game. If you are into art or game development, you're going to enjoy this. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss a single episode. When we released Full Void, we immediately started brainstorming for a new game. We actually started sharing ideas even a few weeks before the release, and it was June 2023. We were quite hyped at the time, and we were looking forward to take everything that we had learned and put it into a new exciting game. I really enjoy working with Tom and Leo on Full Void. They are very talented artists, and I wanted the next game to feature their style even more. I imagined more animations, more puzzles, and more elements on the screen. So in order to have smoother animation and more graphic details, the first thing we decided to do was to double the resolution of the canvas compared to Full Void. We went from the 320 by 180 of Full Void to the 640 by 360 with Nanuka.
Coming from Full Void, we wanted to delve deeper into the potential of cinematic 2D puzzle platformers, take what we learned and improve upon it. After working on this dark setting for a really long time, we decided to flip it entirely and go for a more colorful and fun vibe. Our initial pitch was, just like in Full Void, to take our player on an adventure, with mystery elements to keep you absorbed. Of course, our main goal is to make the game enjoyable and fun. In Full Void, we dabbled with the idea of giving our main characters some kind of ability or action button to spice up the gameplay, but at the end we decided to make their only ability to be hacking at certain parts of the game, to make the player feel more helpless against this hostile environment. In this case, we wanted to give the player a lot more control and action, so we decided to include combat. Our approach to designing the game was to first of all start gathering references. We would share between each other what aspects of platformers we enjoy and want to include in our game, and then we went through a lot of different experiments and pitches and ideas. And of course, we went through a lot of struggles in the early stages. We had a lot of work that we scrapped, ideas that we went back on and iterated on. And being a small team, we have to wear a lot of hats. So we would work on characters and art and the story and gameplay all at the same time.
So August had a few people on holiday, so Leo wasn't here. Ali went away for a week or two, I think. We were just drawing our own style to come up with ideas, and my style is quite cartoony. I think one week, just on a Friday, I think Ali was just seeing my drawings, and on the Monday he just came back and it was just me and him in the office, and he said, this week we're just going to try a cartoony style, just see if it works. So we worked on this prototype. It just involved some very early version of Nanuka and like a plant enemy, which ended up being a pumpkin. The background was sort of fitted to be a bit more cartoony, and I think we just enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun working on it. We were just laughing, and it just we liked the idea of a cartoony thing. So we got Leo's opinion when he came back, and he liked it too. And it just kind of went from there. The story changed to have more humorous moments. Our ideas changed from a serious thing to something maybe a bit more goofy, and then Nanuka developed into a bit more of a like fun character rather than in one too serious.
We found that prototyping is essential in the early stages. Ideas can always have unexpected twists, and you never know until you try them out. But in order to do so, we needed a system that will allow us to test those ideas quickly, with placeholder graphics, so not to spend too much time on refining details that we might end up not using. And that's when our own custom engine came in handy. We'll talk more about the engine, of course, but I can say that adapting the code from full void was quick and easy, and we are then ready to start experimenting with gameplay ideas and graphic styles as much as we wanted.
Before the prototype phase, we was initially just gathering ideas and reference and stuff, and then we decided to split off into different tasks, like just see if anything else like catches us. We had a few different things. I think one of us was drawing a mock-up environment or a screen. I started doing character silhouettes just to see if any popped out to us, and originally we liked this one with an umbrella. But during the prototype phase, we just wanted something quick just to get a feel of the game, so it changed to a sword and a shield quite quickly, just so we had an attack and a block, because we knew we wanted combat.
One thing we spent a lot of time on during the prototype stage was making sure that the main character movements felt satisfying. Coming from Full Void, where the protagonist is a child, and by design slow to control, we now have a martial artist that, although clumsy, she's got skills. We also wanted the game to be more fun, so we wanted to add dynamism to the movements of Nanuka. She can roll on the floor when landing, jump kick, and even wall grab. The prototype phase helped us defining all those movements and try over and over until we were happy with the results. There was a lot of back and forth needed, but in the end, we defined what we needed to go to the production phase: her size, how she moves in the grid, and many other elements of the gameplay. From the very beginning, we had decided we want a young female protagonist in the game. Initially though, in the first design, Nanuka was a very cool hero. She was a bit like Wonder Woman with a shield and a sword, a bit of a warrior. And we tried the prototype, and it wasn't really fun to play with. So we tried lots of different things together with Tom and Leo. And one of the things that really stuck was this drawing that Tom did, which is very close to what we got now in Nanuka. And she was like a young martial artist, and she was a bit clumsy, not 100% in full shape, but we really like her, and we really like the idea of this clumsy hero that, you know, she might end up doing the right thing, but by mistake. And I don't know why, we felt like it was very relatable and it really worked together with the style of the game.
Nanuka went through a lot of changes throughout her early stages of her design. We wanted her to have a lot of personality, but of course, we had to keep in mind some constrictions due to gameplay reasons. We had to avoid making her too tall or too wide of a character to avoid clipping with walls and objects in the environment. We wanted to avoid her having any form of big cape or scarf because it would take a long time to animate those things, and being the main character, she has a lot of custom animations. We also had to keep in mind not to use certain colors that would make her blend into the environment. First and foremost, the player should always know where the character is. Later on, we even decided to give her an outline to make it as clear as possible.
Now that we're going for a cartoony style, it gives us a lot more freedom to kind of almost morph the characters in a way. When we did the character sheets, I tried to basically make her face as morphed and crazy as possible, just to see how far we can push her. And because of all the humour coming from Nanuka specifically, but the world as we're designing it, we're including stuff like that, it's going to make the adventure a lot more fun and light-hearted. It also makes Nanuka a little bit more relatable, that she's goofy and everything around her is like silly.
Having our own custom engine makes porting to different platforms very easy, as we have everything in place and only the code specific to a platform has to be ported, and just once. But I think that really made a difference in developing a game like Full Void, and that will be even more relevant for Nanuka, is the ability that the engine has to handle animations. Thanks to our engine, our games can handle thousands of animations smoothly and without any effort, and keep the size of the game small. If you think that Full Void is about 45 megabytes, and that the majority of that is audio, you'll get the idea how efficient the engine is in dealing with images and animations. In a future episode, I'll go deeper on this topic and talk about the custom animation format that we use for graphics and animations, and I'll talk about the dynamic sound engine that deals with music and sound effects in Nanuka. A very useful functionality we develop and use a lot is what we call the live loop. Let's say that we have a screen or a functionality that we are working on, for example combat, and we want to see if something works better in a way or a different way. We record a section we want to tweak, and then we can quickly change the code live as the game is playing in front of us. And then we see what works better and keep adjusting until we get the result that we want. We wanted to talk about why we spent many months on level 1 and 2 of the game. Before progressing with the game design, we want to make sure we got the core foundation of the game right. And we spent like a few months on Full Void, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
From September to February?
March, maybe even.
Exactly. So making sure the core mechanics of the game were spot on, because you don't want to build the entire game and then figure out that, actually, I don't like the fact that we jump 3 tiles, but we should jump 4 tiles, and that affects the rest of the level design. So that's the same we done for Nanuka. What we done, we started from the same grid system as we used in Full Void. So when the character moved, she would be on a grid position, on a tile, exactly on a tile, every single time from one step or when she would stop running. So for instance, all the animations were linked to a grid position. That worked well for Full Void, but it wasn't quite good for Nanuka. It didn't feel right for some reason. So what we did, we made changes to disconnect the player from the grid, so that Nanuka, the main character, to make it possible to move freely in the grid. And that already made the game feel a lot better. And then I guess we also sped up the movements of the character. At that point we got in a really nice position and we started tweaking all the distances between, like, for the jump or interaction with the environment. And then we wanted to go the extra mile, and I remember you worked on some extra animations for the main character.
Yeah, at one point we drew an animation of Nanuka rolling, and so we decided to add that from when you jump from a certain height, when you land, you'll do a little roll landing. And then after that, we came up with the idea of adding a wall jump as well. So they kind of worked in tandem, because then now every time after you wall jump, when you land, you also do a little roll, which makes the gameplay very fluid and fun and more fast-paced than Full Void.
We also added a bunch of cartoony animations to the game. There were a couple in particular that I remember, like grabbing on a ledge and also stumbling close to an edge as well.
We made it look like it takes a lot of effort for it to go up, which adds to her personality, I think.
Another area that took quite a bit of iteration is the combat. That's something new compared to Full Void. In Nanuka we wanted to have combat. What we started from a slow-paced combat system, which was very close to kind of Prince of Persia, the original Prince of Persia, where you take turns exchanging hits. It was alright, but it didn't feel right for Nanuka for some reason. I remember you, Leo, and Tom as well, when trying the game, felt like it was a bit slow.
Yeah, we couldn't quite put our finger on it. It could be just because of the current state of games, but trying to reference the Prince of Persia combat style still felt kind of stiff in our game. And then we decided to change it up a bit and draw more inspiration from the beat 'em up combat style. So that worked hand in hand with also the cartoony element of the game, because we could exaggerate the animations for combat and make them a lot more fun to look at.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the original Prince of Persia, but as Leo said, Obviously that kind of mechanic doesn't translate well in a game like Nanuka. So instead, we also love Street of Rage and these kind of beat 'em up games, and that kind of interaction, not maybe all the way there, but something between, but closer to a beat 'em up, really made sense for Nanuka, for the animations you guys made for the combat. Thank you for watching the first episode of the Dev Diary of Nanuka, Secret of the Shattering Moon. We hope you enjoyed it. We aim to improve thanks to your feedback, so please let us know what you are interested in, leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next episode.